Hello everybody, welcome to the last video of the year, assuming that I am able to publish it and I don't die in the meantime. As you can hear, I think I caught the flu again. New year, same old sickly me. Anyway, today we are going to use one of the best looking Pokémons in Generation 3 in my opinion. Milotic is part of the group of Pokémons with very weak stage 1s, but gets pretty good once it evolves. The rules are still the same, so I can only use my starter in combat, I can't use consumables in combat, I can't raise my evasion in any way, and I can't use cheats or glitches. Milotic has quite a few good things going for it. It has great special defense and HP, which makes it extremely tanky considering that the grass and electricity, the only two types that I'm weak against, are both special in this game. The starting moveset is not great. Wrap is a bad move. Water Gun is okay since it is special and stab, but it is not good against the decent number of grass types in the early game. In fact, I struggled a bit against the first May fight because her Trico resists my attacks and takes a long time to defeat. Another curious thing about this Pokémon is its growth rate. I don't think I have ever seen something like this. It starts off extremely slow and it takes me forever to level up, but in the end game I got like 10 levels without noticing. Now it's time for Roxanne. Because of the growth rate, I am actually under-leveled for this fight, but it does not matter since we have the type advantage. Her two Geodudes get obliterated since they are double weak to water. Nosepass is a tiny bit more annoying as usual. It has the opportunity to attack me a couple of times, but it is unable to do any significant damage, and so after a few attacks we earned the first badge of the game. I then did the side quest of rescuing Pico, and before leaving town I had the option to challenge May again. I was actually sort of worried about this one. I still don't have any great move to deal with the grass types, and her starter knows Absorb this time. Ultimately it was still fine. My good base stats and the low base power of Absorb kept me alive for a good number of turns, giving me more than enough time to slowly chip down her Pokémons. Next there is Brawly, and even though the match was sort of even, I was underleveled by quite a bit, and with only Water Gun I was not confident, so I skipped him for now and went straight to Slateport. Here I can take on the two Team Aqua Grunts who are harassing the scientists. As usual, this one is not particularly hard. I can just spam my water gun over and over and eventually defeat their Pokémons. After gaining another couple of levels, I finally learned Water Pulse, which increases my DPS substantially. With this new move, I went back to Brawly, and it might have been a bit overkill. His first two Pokémons get one-shotted, which I was not expecting, and the last guy is able to live a little longer, but soon falls too, giving us the second badge of the game in a much easier fashion than what I was expecting. Next we have what could very well be the hardest fight in the game. May is back, and this time she has evolved her starter, making it even more difficult for us to get through it. I thought she would be able to defeat me a couple of times, since I still don't have anything to deal with the grass, but apparently spraying enough water on it causes them to drown too. So this one was again unexpectedly easy. Watson is next, and even though this might seem at first like a hard fight, since we are at a type disadvantage, it's not really that bad. For once, I don't have to worry about Magneton resisting my every move, so as long as I don't get too unlucky with the paralysis, this should be fine. Of course, I equipped a cherry berry to remove paralysis once, and that allowed me to reach his ace without this status. Watson used a few potions on the dog trying to keep him in the fight, but eventually ran out, so that's all he wrote for this video. Now that we can use Rock Smash out of combat, I can explore more places and sooner or later reach the Meteorfall Cave, where we find the two evil teams arguing. Following their discussion, we have to go on top of the local volcano to stop Maxi from activating it. Today, Intimidate is not a problem, since we are mostly a special attacker, so his team is very easy for us. His ace is even 4 times weak to water, so that makes washing him away that much easier. Once we are done with him, we can climb down and take on the next gym. Flannery is going to have a rough day. I just pressed the water pulse button and completely ignored anything she was doing. Thanks to our respectable 100 special attack, I just one-shotted everything she owns, so this was the easiest gym by far. Anyway, now it's time to face a much more respectable foe. Norman holds the 5th badge, and he is not going to be as easy. Fortunately, none of his Pokémons know any grass or electric moves, so I don't have to worry about that, but on the other hand, they have very powerful stab normal moves, who target my physical defense, which is not that high. Ultimately, it does not matter unless they are able to do more than half of my HP, because I just learned Recover and I can use it to immediately regain a bunch of health. For some reason, this time he kept slacking for last. While it's his strongest Pokémon, it's not that dangerous. I am not using physical moves, so I don't have to worry about counter, and I am not inflicting status, so Facade is not that powerful either. After defeating him, we can finally get Surf, and this is arguably the best move for a water type. It might not be that exciting of a move, but exploding enemies by dumping a bunch of blue stuff on them, it's very effective, almost as much as in Dark Souls. After taking care of the Team Aqua admin, we can move on to the second to last encounter with May. Her team improved quite a bit and would be kinda dangerous if it wasn't for a single move I have. You see, most water types are able to learn Ice Beam, which, while it makes sense for it, it is sort of criminal since it is super effective on grass, making the matchup not so favorable anymore for them. Anyway, next is Winona. Much like grass, flying is another type hard countered by frozen water, The fight against her is just a spam of that move, unless I am facing Skarmory, in which case Surf is better, since they are both neutral. The only sort of dangerous Pokemon here is a Pelipper of all things, since it has the best chance of leaving and confusing me. In the end, we can come out on top without even a single scratch. After getting the Magma emblem, we can pay Archie another visit, and of course he is up to no good again. But we arrive too late to stop him in time, so all we can do is beat up his team in the hopes that he changes his mind. Once again, his team is nothing to write home about. Between Surf and Ice Beam, there is nothing he can do, as his Pokémons get blasted away in a single shot. The same can be said for May, who is being a public nuisance by blocking the entrance to the local mall. For such awful crimes, we have to again humiliate her by destroying her hopes and dreams, along with all of her Pokémons. After taking care of that, we have to move a few steps and infiltrate the Mafia base to find Archie. Instead, we find Archie at home, with only 2 Pokémons, which we can of course easily take care of. The next obstacle in our path is considerably more significant than the last few challenges. Tate and Liza can always be a problem because of their 2v1 nature. Today I was not too worried about them. Surf is a counter move to their team, and my huge special defense should be enough to endure the few hits they will be able to throw out. Up next, we have the proof that only punishing a criminal is not a good way to fix the problem, since Maxi is back, and this time he brought the whole gang. As usual, we have Steven to help us out, but today he is very much not needed. Surf is a spread move, which means that it will hit both of their Pokémons. Sure, this way it has less power and it's not quite enough to one-shot them consistently, but it is still dealing a huge amount of damage to their teams anytime I cast it. I got kinda unlucky with the confusion, so I ended up hitting myself quite a bit, and it was not looking too good for me, but when I snapped out of it, I used recover, so yeah. The fight did not last a lot longer, but I allowed Aggron to finish off the Crobat with Thunder, so it felt like it did something for once. After dealing with those guys, I need to go to the seafloor cave where we can find the leader of the other team and finally face him in battle. While his team is technically slightly better against us, in the end the result is still the same. His Pokémons are not strong enough to stop me. This is also the point where the very fast growth rate kicks in, so from here on I will level like crazy. This is also the point where I have to do the bit with Rayquaza, so if you can spare a moment, please scroll down and subscribe if you are not already, ring the bell and press the like button. It may not seem like it, but those are very helpful. The last gym leader of the region is Juan and his water types. This one was sort of the hardest gym, simply because his Pokémons resisted my best attacks. I have Return on me, but between the low physical attack and everything else, Surf still ended up being the best move. Surprisingly, most of his Pokémon were not a problem until we reached Kindra. It is not a two-shot with Ice Beam, so it has the time to start setting up with double teams and troll me with evasion. That's so annoying, but luckily I am able to land enough hits on it in a row to defeat it before things spiral out of control. Juan also used all of his potions on the Kronaast, which was a lot easier to deal with, so overall not an easy fight, but not hard by any means either. Now that we have all the badges and can use all the HMs, we can enter the Victory Road, where we find Wally here for one last fight. Unfortunately for him, he is not going to be able to do much today. My moveset is not that varied, but it's good enough to deal with his team. The only thing that can survive is Gardevoir, but it usually prefers to set up future sights instead of straight up attacking. Once we have dealt with that speed bump, we can finish off the Victory Road and enter the league. Somehow I jumped all the way to 74, so that's the level I will start it. First off we have Sidney. His team is not bad for us. Again, Intimidate does not worry me and most of his Pokémon can't survive Surf. The two grass types resist it, but are weak to Ice Beam. So yeah, this fight was definitely on the easier side of things. Next we have Pheobe. For her I was a bit worried about the lead. I was unsure whether she would be able to use Curse in time. If she did, this fight could have gone south, but thankfully I have just quite enough power to take it down in one wave, and from here the rest of the fight is much more relaxed. The only thing that survives is the second Dusclops, since it is a few levels higher, but can only deal little damage back to me before falling to my serfs too. The third fight is against Glacia, and she could be problematic. Much like Juan, her team takes my serfs and ice beams quite well, so this is not going to be a flashy fight, but an endurance test. Fortunately, Gardevoir is made for this kind of fight, and even if they manage to land some good hits and paralysis on me, I can fix all of that with a simple rest. You see, that's how I thought the fight would go, but instead one surf is enough to decimate her team. The only thing that can stand up to it is Walrein, and not very well at that. I did get paralyzed, but preferred to keep it instead of risking freezes. The last of the Elite Four is a Drake, and he is not going to be that big of a problem. I have Ice Beam for his entire team, and we all know that the only thing that can leave it is a Kindra. Everything else is basically quadruple weak to it, so there is no chance of survival. This time I got a freeze on the seahorse, so there's that. To be fair, Kindra already took the spotlight in the Juan fight, so I don't feel too bad for that. Last but not least, it's the champion fight. I would have loved for it to be a flawless run, but unfortunately Wallace had other plans. It seeded me with Ludicolo and made me waste a bunch of turns because it kept dodging everything, and then Tentacruel just got lucky and poisoned me before I could rest, ending that attempt. The second time around was much better. Wailord was still able to set up rain since it is very tanky, but fortunately Ludicolo decided to go easy on me. It did not use Leech Seed, and I was able to defeat it before it could double team too many times. From here I was almost sure the fight was going to end in my favor. I could heal Toxic with the rest, so that's not a problem. My only worry was if Gyarados could set up many times and then crit me with Hyper Beam for a one-shot. My worries grew a bit since Wallace did not use his full restores for Milotic, which means that he kept them for Gyarados. I took the opportunity to heal when Whiscash was on the field, but ultimately my worries were for nothing. Even though he has a respectable special defense, Gyarados was a two-shot with Ice Beam, and that's how Milotic became champion of the Hoenn region. That was a short and sweet run. Nothing was too hard, and even though I could brute force my way through most fights, there was still a little bit of strategy with the moveset. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe and ring the bell and all of that YouTube stuff. Happy New Year and see you next week. Bye!